That's what you do. You buy these players that cost money and make a difference in it. But we never do that.
Never complains, gets up, gets on with a smile on his face.
You just want you to sit in your chair and go hip hip hooray for the Western press and the Western narrative, regurgitating the same old every single day without the truth. If you haven't seen it before, please watch the first two episodes, the second series.
We are on the site of the castle.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
Hi everyone, it's me again after last night's fiasco. Anyway, no football, but I watched the game again. You know, I watched the game again today, the full match, and we were unlucky. Some of the blocks, everything, it was incredible. This is why, you know, you can be all relaxed and everything, knowing the score, knowing how it went. And as I said, I watched it again, and we were so unlucky. It was incredible, absolutely amazing. It's just one of those games. I couldn't understand why the sloop man took off 2 penalty takers. I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it. Even Chiesa takes penalties. I don't know whether you're aware of that. Think about that. We have a penalty taker, Mo Salah. Mo puts it away. But that goalkeeper made some terrific saves. Some terrific saves he made, which was outstanding. The header from Diaz, when he headed it down, how he got to that is unbelievable. That was an Ali-esque save. Ali-esque, no. Unbelievable save. Then the shots kicked off the line. That one by Carabashela from Mo. I don't know whether anyone was aware of that. I was aware of it last night. It was going in, you know, but you're all tensed up and everything else. I'm not doing any more of those fucking things. I'm showing myself. But that's the way I am. That's the way I am. Anyway, Christopher. Hi, Frank and everyone. Christopher, I might have to go off this now, because what I was going to do, I don't know where Anthony is, and I can't get him on. And it's after the producer, Jason's still away. This is what I was going to talk about. The First World War. That's what I was going to talk about. Me and Anthony. But unfortunately, I can't do anything because Jason's, he's not at home. So I can't talk about that. Yes, can't get Anthony on. Don't know where it, you know, Anthony. I was doing a podcast today just to go out on YouTube, not live or anything. And I couldn't get my guest on. And I wasn't going to bother Jason, you know, he's in work. The lad's in work, he's a very busy lad. So I wasn't going to phone him. So what I'm going to do is on Friday afternoon, I won't go out live, I'm just throwing it on YouTube. It's just, it got me down, really got me down. I don't know what's wrong with the fucking thing, to be honest. So listen, what I'm going to do, I'll come back, if you don't mind, at 9 this evening. Not 9, I'm sorry, 8. At 8 o'clock. I'll wait for Jason to get home and give him a ring and just tell him what's happened. Because Anthony might be in the waiting room, but I can't get him in. I don't know what's gone wrong in the last couple of weeks. This has happened in the last couple of weeks. I just don't know what's gone on. So I'll just go. So I'll see you later on. Honestly, I will. I'll see you. If you're still there, you're still there. Or I'll see you at 8. If not, see you on Friday, because I'm not having one tomorrow night. A football show. Not having one. And I'm doing the. Oh, thanks, Christopher. Thank you. I'm doing as I said, I'm not having a football show tomorrow night. What I am having is a current affairs. And I've got a lot to say about this, especially this 30-day ceasefire that Zelensky wants. And Russia, they're going to say, you what? Let them rearm. Are you fucking kidding? The thing is, you see, with the likes of Putin, I wouldn't trust America. I don't trust any American. The liars. It's their war. It's a proxy war. And Vladimir Putin knows this. And he's just, yeah, okay. I think Trump, with him saying, I'm going to stop this war, he's doing everything. Because what Rubio's turned around today after the meeting with that Ermak fella, horrible man, that Ukrainian. And he said, it's in the ball's in the Russian court. What? I'll tell you what would have happened if they would have been sitting there, a little delegation with those Ukrainians and the Americans. I'll tell you what would have happened. They would have just said, in Russian, obviously, to the lads, come on, let's go. Not having this. And walked out. Because that was a pathetic 30-day. Think about it. 30-day ceasefire. What's the point in that? So that they can rearm. Anyway, I think you're all with me. I've just got nothing. What I'll do, if you don't mind, I'll stay on. And I'll talk about what I wanted to talk about. That's the First World War. A war going on. I'll talk about the First World War and what had happened. People think that with the war, when it started, and I'll tell you what it was. It was a big family squabble. That's all it was. It was a big royal family squabble. Think about it. The Kaiser, Edward there. You had the Romanovs in Russia, the Tsar Nicholas II. So you had them. They're arguing with each other. They are arguing, by the way, especially that Wilhelm Kaiser. He's arguing with everyone. Then you had the thing in Serbia, didn't you? Franz Joseph of Austria being assassinated. Did you know they tried 3 times to kill him? That's it. And so I must have said to him, get in the car, you'll be all right. Third time, look, you know what, I'll have a go. And they killed him and assassinated, as the terminology goes. They assassinated him and his wife, Sophie. Which is wrong, you know what I mean? And they were students. And have a guess who they were out by? The British. The British are everywhere. It was like the Second World War when Heinrich, excuse me, when Heinrich was assassinated. They were under the orders, those 3 students from MI6, intelligence here. They went back and assassinated Reinhard Heinrich. They just threw a grenade in the thing. Tried to shoot him, but they never missed him. Threw a grenade in. And it was Horsair that killed him, poisoned him. Because he was all right. Not all right, you know, he was wounded. And Horsair got into his bloodstream and killed him. The blue eye of Hitler. Think about that. Think about that. But the First World War was horrible. And again, it's just like this. Think about it. It's a war of attrition. And it's just like today in Ukraine, a war of attrition, where you invite them over, come on. And you just mow them down. That's what's happening now. That's what's happened in Kursk. They allowed the Russians knew all about that. The intel they had, they knew that they were going into Kursk. They said, okay, let them come in. And they've destroyed them. They've annihilated them every single day. And they were being thrown people in and arms and, you know, vehicles and tanks, and they've just been getting destroyed every single day. There's up to nearly 70,000 of them being killed. 70,000. And there was no military purpose. I know what they went in for, to get the power station, Kursk power station, nuclear power station. Got nowhere near it. That's why they knew. The Russians knew. They said, you're not coming nowhere here. And they just got them in. Now they're in a cauldron. They're surrendering. They're running away. They're just being annihilated. For what? Whose idea was it? It wasn't Ukraine's. It was NATO's. And where's did NATO got the intel to do that? America. Biden, before he was going, he said, if we can get into Kursk, it'd be great, you know. This is on Russian soil. We can sort all this, sort that Putin out, get rid of him, you know, because the Russians won't like that. The Russians will not like that. They'll get rid of them once and for all. No. I'll tell you what could get rid of them. This peace deal. 100,000 Russian soldiers have been killed. And their families, 100,000 of them, are in grief. Are in grief. And if Putin turns around and says, yeah, I'll have a 30 days, you know, you never trust Zelensky anyway. They could rearm, which they will. Rearm resupply everything, and go again in a never-ending war. So if he accepts that peace agreement for 30 days, come on, 30 days, no chance. He'll go. The people will get him out. The people will say, no, our sons have lost their lives, and you're bowing down to them. And America's already defeated there. NATO's already defeated there. Every European country is defeated. If you think that it's just Ukraine fighting them, no, you're wrong. But anyway, getting back to the First World War, it was a war of attrition on both sides. And when you take the very first Battle of Ypres, on the 1st of July 1916, 60,000 casualties in 2 hours. And who was wiped out? The Liverpool Pals. The Liverpool Pals. The brainchild of Lord Derby. Mates going to war, not strangers, but each other. Mates, brothers, cousins. And the Florence Institute that was down in that's down in the south ends of the city. They had a football team, and they were in the Pals. They all got wiped out. I seen the plaque. Went down, and I was invited down. This is why they were doing us up, and I said, before they started doing us up. And I seen the plaque. I said, you've got to get that to the Liverpool Conservative. Let them polish it up. Let them restore it. And that's what they did. All those lads killed. 1st of July, 1916. Football team. That's how sad war is. So, where's Anthony? Don't know. He's supposed to come on. As I mentioned, I can't get him on. Most probably he's sitting there, waiting to come on. I can't bring him on. So that's why I'm going to get hold of, I'll just send Jason a text. See where he is. I don't know what that. I don't know what that chip is. To be honest, Terrell. It started with an ostrich. It used to be bizarre. Baldnick from brilliant. It started with an ostrich. It used to be bizarre. Head of the sand, you see. When you talk about Baldrick, the Blackadder in the First World War, the most iconic and ironic ending to any TV series anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. When you just see them in the trench and he just looks around them. He just looks, Blackadder just looks around. Just says, okay, lads, time to go. And over the top they went to the death. That's attrition. That's war of attrition. And Jason, the greatest man on the planet, has just texted me. And I can't read because he hasn't got my glasses on. I know. Oh, he says, I'm sure you says 8 o'clock, and I must have done, Jason's, I'll just have to say, I'm sorry. Sorry there, boys. Yeah. serious. You said, I'm sure you said 8 o'clock, and I said, I think that's it. Different from the football. What am I like? It's just that, you get used to times, and I was trying to get used to the football time of 7 o'clock. And I was just thinking about Anthony, to be honest. Because he's used to 8 o'clock and not 7. So I must have said to Jason, I'll just start at 8 because Anthony won't know. Do you know what? I hate the smell of garlic, and I cook something there fucking full of garlic. Never again. After I've seen pictures of shitty ads, I'll try that. I hate garlic, I make a great spaghetti, but I don't use garlic. That's by the by. And that's the black and white, boy says. Evening goal. Even in black and white. I just don't know what to do. Don't know whether to wait for Anthony or just go off and come back. Yeah, the red bird. What did you, Frank? I too hate the smell of garlic. I still say it was the red bird. I can't stand it. I really can't. I think I'm the only fella with Italian blood that doesn't like garlic in the world. And Zero, I got much doubt. Wait, Frank, we love your beautiful face. Thanks very much. I tell them that to a few girls. But you see the way it is, wars. Just look at these people. Just look at these lads. Look at that. They're just hiding behind there. They're just hiding behind there. That's attrition. And then they just go over the top. They get mowed down. I've got a book here. The big, and it was written. I forget who wrote it. I've got it here somewhere in my library. And what it is, it's all like, well, it's not all like, I hate saying that. It's all notes that soldiers and officers have written in the trenches. I should have got it out. I might get it out at half time, when Jason puts the clip on. I'll get it out and I'll read you some. You want to read them? Incredible. And the rats and the roaches, cockroaches, amazing. Okay. When I said okay, read the text. Said Anthony will be on soon. So you see the way it is. You see the way it is about wars and what people go through. I forget who said a war, the rich get richer while the poor die for it. Terrible. Garlic keeps the vampires away. That's why I've seen them, maybe, especially today. Lynn Ellis. Hiya, Lynn. Evening, Frank. Hiya, Lynn. And Sally is Scouse weirdo. That's why we love you. Sally is Scouse weirdo. I haven't been called weirdo before long, to be honest. Bird, Christopher. I saw a documentary about the Wipers Heap, yeah. It was amazing what they did, yeah. I went to the Heap, museum, war museum. Fantastic. I walked in, and all of a sudden, you look down, and it's glass, and it's a trench. And you see soldiers, the dummies, like. But you see soldiers crouched, but you also see bodies. And it was daunting, to say the least. Because I brought students over to the World War I graves, stayed at a place called Venlo. Shocking. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Went to that time cot. It's named after a Newcastle cottage, Tyne cot, because there's lots of Tynesiders buried there. Shocking. Sailors as well, came across sailors that were buried there. Because if you think sailors were just on the battleships and subs and that, no, they weren't. They were also in the trenches. Frank's Italian goalkeeper, yeah, he's Donald. That's the best game I've ever seen that fella play, I'm being honest. Donos, Italian jinx. It's the way it is, Daryl. The way it is, mate. Sorry. So this is what you have. You have this war of attrition. You have the likes of this. These are all waiting for the whistle to go over the top. There was rats. And in one thing, that about these little things that they were writing, that went into this particular book that was written about the First World War. It says about the rats. And there was one note, and this fella, this soldier, he's looking over, and he sees movement. There's like bodies in no man's land, and he sees this movement, and he said, "I'm going to get him. He's wounded. He's alive. Just sees movement." Don't forget, you're looking like that above the parapet. So he goes over and he crawls out. He crawls out of this movement, and when he gets there, do you know what it was a movement of? Rats. All gnawing away at this fella, the soldier, dead soldier. And he ran back. He ran back. He never crawled back. He just ran, frightened. The rats. I remember going into this cafe with my students. We were, I forget where. It was L69, I think, or something like that. A massive crater. And there's a cafe there. So anyway, we went in. And I walked in, obviously, bloody first. So I walked in, was walking over to the counter, and I seen this thing on the counter, stuffed. And I thought it was an otter or something. It was huge, and it was a rat, stuffed rat. That's how big they were. When they say, rats as big as cats, rats as big as cats, you think, you think that they're exaggerating. True. The tails were that big. The thickness of the tails, that like that. Big long thing. Horrible it was. Is that me? Are you that me?
Good evening, Frank.
So I did say to Jason, 8 o'clock, and I forgot. I thought it was 7. I'm sorry about this, Anthony.
No, that's no worries, Frank. I just didn't know. I was just chasing a text through. Said, Frank's getting mad there. Where are you? He didn't. He
No,
didn't.
I know you wouldn't say that. I remember.
Oh,
Believe
jeez.
it,
Just keeps it all together.
Yeah. Oh no, it's hey, love to see it. It's ages, isn't it? Now, just ages. I'm just talking about the First World War, to be honest, don't we? And
Yeah, I heard the
go on.
conversation then. I just heard
Oh,
what you were saying then about what's certainly about the horrors that faced them in the trenches.
it was shocking.
Yeah.
It was shocking. It really was shocking. And when I've got something belonging to you here. Let me remove this. Let me put this up. And that's a portrait of one of the greats, Wilfred Owen, one of the great war poets of the First World War.
Made up of his own words.
Everything,
Yeah.
everything. And when you think, he wrote a thing called Anthem for Doomed Youth. Even the title says everything. Everything it says. Anthem for Doomed Youth.
Absolutely profound. I had the misfortune of not studying Wilfred when I was at school, although my English teacher was fairly on the ball, but Wilfred wasn't part of our education. But someone gave me a book. I was 16 and I was just leaving school, just starting an art school, and it was a little paperback book, 1975, 76, of Wilfred's poems. And that was the first one that hit me. And it stayed with me.
Anthem for Doomed Youth, yeah.
Yes. And I knew at that point that there should be a memorial to this man. And then as years go by, we end up doing one, which I'm proud we did.
Well, they opened a library for him over there, and they invited me over. Not a library, it was a window. And I went over and gave a little talk, about him.
Yeah.
I'm going back a few years ago now. Anyway, when you look at Anthem for Doomed Youth, the opening 2 lines, what passing bells for these who die as cattle. It says everything. What passing bells for these who die as cattle. Because when they were going, the church bells were ringing, as in prayer.
Yeah.
But he calls them cattle. What passing bells for these who die as cattle. And further down, it's got, and each slow dusk, a drawing down of blinds. Meaning every household. Remember when we were younger, we knew that someone had died because of a sheet over the window, a white sheet, someone had died. And that said it all as well in that poem. And each slow dusk, a drawing down of blinds, because every street in the country, they reckon, has a blind drawn every
Absolutely.
single day.
Yeah.
And Owen did. Go on,
when you
sorry.
think back, Frank, in modern terms, and we're looking back now, it's like a screenplay he wrote,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Because
yeah.
you picture every line, you picture the scene that he's describing.
Everything, everything. And when you get, there's another poem, and it's called Dulce et decorum est.
Yeah,
And it says, it starts off, bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we curse through sludge. And when you think about that, bent double like old beggars under sacks, because the uniforms were ripped to shreds.
yeah,
They were ripped to shreds, you know, with going over that barbed wire. They were
yeah,
always ripped.
yeah.
Like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, they were shaken with fear, knock-kneed, coughing like hags because of the fumes of everything that was going up.
The gases, and
Yeah,
these are young people,
everything.
aren't they? These are like
Yeah,
from 16 years of age upwards. You know,
yeah, that's all.
sadly,
14, some of them I've seen graves of 14 and 15-year-olds.
sadly, not to get to old age.
No. And what you're talking about, gas, in that anthem, into the Dulce et decorum est, there's the lines. Quick, quick, boys, an ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmet. Hang on. Gas, gas, quick, boys, an ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone was yelling and floundering like a man in fire or lime. As under the thick green sea, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch his white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud, of vile incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such a zest to children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. And that particular title comes from a great Roman writer and poet going back to the Roman times,
Yeah,
Ovid. And it says how sweet and glorifying it is to die for one's country. But the poem itself, what um, what uh, what Wilfred Owen was saying, it's not glorious and great and everything else to die for one country. It's
yeah,
very painful. It's
yeah,
very painful to die for one's country because they're there for nothing.
yeah. And
So,
that's a lie.
that's the great man.
Yeah,
I'll just see what these are saying. A couple of, the Redbird says, if we went to war today, where would we get the real men from? Because in today's world, there aren't that many. He's spot on there. He is so spot on. And David Owens, talking to David today, before steel helmets became a standard issue in 1916, the British Army issued soft cloth caps that offered no protection against artillery, machine gun, and rifle fire. In the relative protection of a trench, the soldier's most vulnerable area was his head. Yeah, yeah. That's why, because it's not only like it doesn't stop bullets or really shrapnel or anything. It's bricks, stone. because when a shell hits the tail, everything goes up and it's protecting the head from stone and everything else that's coming down in that blast. And the red bird says, glad you could join us, Anthony. Yeah. Because Dan said, where's Anthony?
I've missed you. I've missed you all, and the main man, of course.
But we're back to normal now. We're back to normal now because we're out the Champions League, so we're all right. We'll be back to normal every Wednesday if you don't mind a Wednesday.
I'm happy to join you, Frank. Any day. Wednesday's great. Whatever. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. So we've got this. That's a great painting though by Wilfred Owen, and if, you can get onto Anthony's artwork, and you'll see that in its full glory. And when he died, it was the irony of him dying was exactly a week before Armistice, on the 4th of November.
Yeah.
When a sniper got him, he was walking across a bridge, and a sniper got him, killed him, and a week later, exactly a week later, there was the Armistice.
Yeah.
He just couldn't last out.
And the tragic irony of, as you know, in those days, you didn't necessarily know. It's not like now you send a text and say, oh, so-and-so's passed away. So on the very day of VE Day, his mother got the telegram to say that he'd been killed.
Yeah.
So the irony is that celebrations all round, and then.
And he was a holy man as well. He was holy.
Yeah. Well, when we get you over here one time, the church that he attended is just up the road in Oxton Village. It's still kind of village-like, just on the cusp of that. And there's two houses over here in Bergenhead. One of them, which is in the next road to the library you described before, Bergenhead Central Library, I think has finally got a blue plaque outside. I don't know if they both have or just the one.
Yeah. Because he deserves plaques, that lad.
Oh, he deserves he deserves a statue wherever he laid his hat.
Totally agree, 100%. Because when you're, when you write poetry, him and Siegfried Sassoon, they became friends. He was wounded, was Wilfred, and he went up to Craig Lockhart. Officers went up there to Scotland, to recover him. And well, Siegfried Sassoon wasn't wounded at all because he went down. He started lobbying the MPs. He was an officer, and he was saying, "Hang on a minute. What's going on? This is why are we there? What's the problem with you lot? You can stop this now." And he was anyway. They couldn't do anything to him. If it would have been you or I, he would have been thrown up a wall and shot, most probably. So he sent him to Craig Lockhart, and that's where he met Wilfred Owen. See, with the likes of Sassoon, he said he was writing all kinds of wonderful patriotic poetry, but when his brother was killed, Michael, he started writing about the horrors, and he realised, no, this isn't a war of a just war. This is a war of nothing. A war of nothing, and people are dying. As Wilfred Owen said, the cream of British youth is being annihilated.
Yeah.
The cream of British youth. And it's so sad, that these great poets, they knew what they were talking about because they were there. They were in the midst of the,
Yeah.
and yet their poetry, unless it was, patriotic poetry, like The Soldier, if I should die, think only this of me, that was a great patriotic poet, that. But, anything else, like Anthem for Toon's Youth, like Dulce et Decorum Est, The Soldier, and everything else, they were all, weren't published until 11 years after the war. 11
No.
years after the war, because they didn't think that could be another war. And, certainly was another
Yeah.
8 or so years, there was another one.
Well, the powers that be wouldn't allow it to be in the public realm, would they? And I think it was about 20 years, and Wilfred's mother and Sassoon both lobbied the academics to get his little booklets of poems out there, and I
Yeah.
think it was 20 or 25 years, and then Oxford, I think, then took notice of it, and bit by bit by bit. I mean, there's me. I didn't study it in school. More pity on the education system that we went through at that time. So that's in the 70s, and then from that point it got to be relevant to everyone. And I think also what caused the damage, not so much damage, but it's like we've been through the two horrific wars, First World War, Second World War, and national service, and people were still getting killed in national service in Korea or in Cyprus or whatever. So it's just a case of keep everything quiet. Don't rattle anyone. Don't put that out there. Don't make
It's like
any.
that today. It's like that today.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like that today. There's annihilation going on
Yeah.
in that Kursk. There's not mentions about Kursk. There's Ukrainian lads being slaughtered every single day. 2,000 of them. Vehicles being, they're all on the scrap heap now. It's shocking what they're doing. And in Syria, which never, I watched footage, and it knocked me sick. And I'm sorry I watched it because I couldn't sleep.
Wow.
And, my football, it took it out. I tried to get it on my mind what I seen what's going on in Syria.
Yeah.
And the Americans are blamed for any war that's going. They just started. And they brought this fella named Al-Jawani out of this Al-Qaeda. And I've got to say it, I don't like saying it, but he's a head chopper, what you call a head chopper. And he was going around during ISIS, chopping people's heads off. And you're always seeing it on the telly. But the footage I seen yesterday, I'm sorry I watched it, I really have, because it's haunted me. And these are Christians. They're just going after the Christians. Children, men and women, elderly, anyone. And they're beheading them or just shooting them in the head. And it's shocking to see it. And I thought, why is it? I don't watch the Western narrative, the Western media. I don't watch it because they're all liars. It's all propaganda, whatever they're saying. But I believe, talking to friends of mine, one friend, David Owens, there, he phones me up and he said, listen to this and listen to that. And not a word of it in the Western media, not a word, not on the news, no nothing, no, we have to ask why. And this is what's going on today. And it's just like what was going on in the both wars, First and Second World War. Emmeline Pankhurst in the First World War, she stood up, and there was all these women around. They all knew her, Emmeline, a great suffrage person, a leader. And she was saying about the war, she was saying, the lads are being killed every day. What for? Why are they being killed? They should be at home working with you, rearing the children. You've got to get hold of your MPs. You've got to say something to the government. This is what she was saying. And there was like a few agitators there, and they started booing her and throwing, things at her, and, rotten tomatoes or whatever. And she had to leave. She knew it. And that's Emmeline Pankhurst. And that's what she was doing. Because people knew that this war in France was a nothing war.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. But any war is. And Just 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 is a Dutchman. He says, great show as normal. And he carries on by saying, have you covered British naval battles of the Anglo-Dutch wars? No, I haven't. I haven't, Just. I haven't. But the Dutch, it was funny actually, because when I used to lecture about the Pilgrim Fathers, shall we say, a fellow named Bradford, he was ostracised from here in England. This is during the Reformation. So anyway, he decided to go over to, and his followers, they decided to go over, William Bradford his name was, he decided to go over to Holland. So we went to Holland, but he started to agitate people, these Dutch people, and they were saying, well, it's got nothing to do with us, this, mate, go away. And anyway, so he's agitating. So he was thrown out of Holland, William Bradford. So we went back to England. So the English wanted to get rid of him again. So what they did, people think about the Pilgrim Fathers and whatever. So they said, tell you what, William, we'll give you a couple of ships and you can go to the New World. That's just over the Atlantic there. If you make it, you can stay there for the rest of your life. It's a new utopia for you. So we decided to bring the Pilgrim Fathers over, William Bradford, to a place called Roanoke, which is in Virginia. But unfortunately for him, or is it fortunate, I don't know, he was blown off course, and he actually landed in Cape Cod. You've heard of Cape Cod, haven't you? So he landed there, and when he got out, this is genuine. He got off the ship, and he went, "Praise the Lord, praise the Lord," And they were all going, "What have you got to praise him for, William? Look," he was saying. I don't think he has a Scouse accent, but he's saying, "Look." So he walked through, and what they seen was these little wooden homes. I'm not saying shacks, but they also seen laid out, like farmland and growing stuff. And they went, "Look at that! Look what we got! Look what we've got! The Lord has brought us here. The Lord's, hallelujah, brother!" All this. And the following year, after they harvested it, right? They had the very first feast, and that's where in 1621 Thanksgiving comes from, because they were all saying, "Thanksgiving, it's Thanksgiving," because of being blown off course, finding this wonderful stuff. But whose stuff it was? It was the Indians. It was the American native.
Native.
They were farmers.
who were slaughtered for the land, weren't they?
Well, yeah, it was it was their paradise, not their paradise. They were
Yeah,
farmers.
yeah,
And what you get the impression about the American indigenous is that they always went around and hunting, these braves with wigwams, teepees. They never, because they were chased by the white man. They were
yeah,
chased. That's why they used to fold up. That's why they made these wigwams, a
yeah,
portable tent, in other words.
yeah.
You chased off the land.
It's just again, it's just one of the universe's greatest injustices,
Of
and that
course.
they still do not have a voice now.
No,
Like what the
no,
British,
no.
the Irish, and foreign nation. Oh, look at that! We'll have that. We'll claim that. Plant a flag.
That's what
To
it's all about, isn't it? And it's what you said. Do you do anything on the British and the Dutch naval wars? But that's just an insight into how the British were. We
yeah,
just we took things for granted. We always did. When we went to these places, oh, you take orders from us. We're more superior than you. And that was the British way. I'm
yeah,
going through the centuries. That was the British way of life. But they
yeah,
gave nothing to us, They gave nothing to us, all this gentry and everything else. It was strange, actually, because when I mentioned Roanoke,
yeah,
a fellow named John Smith. John Smith is one of my military heroes, to be honest. Anyway, when he got to Roanoke, he seen people. When Roanoke's in Virginia, Roanoke is in Virginia, and when he got there, they brought supplies, because every time supplies came, every time, the ships were blown off course, or worse still, they were, sunken. That was the end of that. So they
yeah,
were relying on supplies. So anyway, John Smith got there with supplies, and when he got there, to Roanoke, and he gets off, what had happened? He seen a fellow tied, his legs and his arms, around a tree like this. So he was just like this, right, tied to this tree, and his tongue. Get onto this. His tongue on the tree, right,
yeah.
with a nail through it,
Oh my!
so he couldn't move. Do you know why? I'll tell
No.
you why. This is how it was. See, I've got to tell you this first. When they got there, they expected the indigenous native to hunt for them. These were all gentlemen, by the way. These were all gentlemen with the wives, These are, okay, laddie, you do this, them people. And they expected the indigenous people to do something. But they were, because they were hunters, they were fishermen, they were everything, these lads. Even the girls, they were hunters as well. These are the Indians. So anyway, they got fed up and they said, hang on a minute, but you do something now. You start something. And they said, no, we don't do that. So anyway, they were starving. They just left them, the indigenous. They left them to their own devices. So this fella, it was like that, nailed, his tongue nailed to this tree. His wife died. His wife had died, and they buried her. That night, when no one was, he dug her up, and he was doing cannibalism on her,
Oh,
and they caught him.
wow.
How about that? And that's what it was like. But they sent their own people over. Let's see what the Redbird says. I'll do that, you stole. I won't do it tonight. I'll do it some other time.
I
In
would
a
love
history show about the Dutch Wars, the Anglo-Dutch Wars. I promise you that.
yeah.
The Redbird, and I will let you know on the football show when I'm going to do it, because I know that you tune into that.
Yeah.
And the Redbird says the genocide of Christians is sickening, yet much mainstream won't talk about it. They will talk openly about another faith. Yes, Charles had. Hang on, I haven't got my reading glasses. With the I can't read that out. I'm sorry. Why not a word about Lent? Exactly. Now there's my little granddaughter. What's she giving up? Oh, she's given up. I used to get it every time I went shopping. I used to, well, I did buy it. Magnums.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ice cream Magnums. A little box of them. And she said, and I gave Francine, I said, look, I've got some Magnums for the baby there. I said, you forgot to take them the other day. But she took them and she said, she's given them up for Lent. The Magnums.
Oh,
So it goes back, that's
yeah.
that's what I'm going to talk about, our traditions. I'm going to talk about our traditions, what's gone. And the second half of the show, if you don't mind.
Just wonderful. What's kind of been going around my mind while I've been on the subs bench while the football have been going on. I've been dipping into all sorts, and part of that is religion, because being brought up a Catholic, but it's like you go back to the earliest days of the religion, the Vatican, the Catholic faith. It was bought and fought for. So it's like where is God in that? And it's like now with these people, and you're mentioning the news articles that I've not seen yet. Where is the God in that?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. We always question God. We always question God. I even said that to Bishop Tom, when I gave that talk, for the statue, the statue of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And I said, why do we, ordinary people, always question God? And do you know what he said? Because it's your faith. You never say anything else, but why is God allowing this? And it was a great answer.
Yeah.
It was a great answer. And we do. Even the most atheist of atheists would say, oh God, did you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, did you?
Yeah.
And yes, they don't believe in God. It's like the Jews, it's like the Zionists, they don't believe in anything like that. Yet what they say is, God promised us all this land, if you know what I mean, from the sea, from the land to the sea. That's what they say, from the land to the sea. God promised this land. I'll just say this here, and then we'll have a break, if you don't mind, Anthony, and we'll be back after the break.
Frank.
And we'll carry on. And it's the vlogs, actually. He says, hey, Frank, remember the other week you saying about Easter on a Victorian zoo with a bear pit? Where was the other one again? Was it in the Rice Lane Zoo? No.
Yeah. Eastern Ferry. Yeah, it's that area. Funny enough, our daughter, our Emily, who you know well, Frank, she goes there a lot, and there's a beautiful big Eastern Ferry Hotel which obviously was built when the ferry must have been from Liverpool across. Now it's reopened as a restaurant. The bird pit and the gardens at the back, the woods, Eastern Woods, is all there. And it's a wonderful, wonderful experience to walk around. Doesn't cost anything. It's just, you know, in this weather, you're just careful you don't slip over. And if you're someone like me, you're careful you don't fall into the bear pit.
You mean you? Could you imagine that?
Never get out.
Never
We'll
get
have
out.
to go from there.
Yeah. Do you know what? I passed a place when I was with Francie. I had to go to the doctors and that yesterday, and we passed this place, and I said to her, I said, that used to be a builder's yard there. And she said, go away, was it? I said, yeah. I said, and I went in one day, the lad, I got to know the lad who ran at the manager, and he said, yeah, come over, I'm going to show you something. And he brought me into this room, and when I went in, it just shocked me, because it was like Tudor. And we walked up these rickety wooden stairs, and as we walked along, he said, yeah, look at that down there. So as I looked over, it was a bear pit. And do you know where that was? Do you know by, the very end, by Low Hill End, that way, Low Hill End, and Everton Road end of West Derby Road, and it was right there. Right there. That's where it was. And there's new buildings there now. And that was, it used to be a timber yard or something like that, builder's yard.
Yeah.
And I seen that bear pit. So if Jason's listening, we'll have a little break now, and we'll carry on after this.
This is the Collegiate of Shaw Street, a very famous place of learning. Today, there are fancy apartments, but at least it's still here. And just around the corner from the Collegiate is its neighbour, SFX, St Francis Xavier School, and the two of them, the two wonderful buildings, are linked to our next hero. It's a funny place, Liverpool. You'll always find a place of tranquility, and this is Whiteley Gardens here on Shaw Street. Peace, birds singing, beautiful day. Now that's what George Gabriel Curie longed for in the trenches during the 1914-18 conflict. George Gabriel Curie, born Liverpool in 1896, and he was educated at St Francis Xavier School, Salisbury Street. Then at Stonyhurst College, Ribble Valley. Now, he was an apprentice in the cotton trades in the Albany in Old Hall Street. And when war broke out, on the 4th of August 1914, he was commissioned into the Pioneer Corps as a second lieutenant. The Pioneers, what's the definition of the Pioneers? They never get the credit that they richly deserve. Now, what the Pioneers did, they actually repaired the roads. They went out into no man's land and dug the trenches for an advancement of the Allies, brought the ammunition up, even the barbed wire. The pioneers' job was really hazardous because they came under immense fire continually. And on the 8th of August 1916, at a place known as Arrowhead Copse near Julemont, the Battle of the Somme was raging. Curie and his men advanced into no man's land under heavy enemy fire to dig trenches for the advancement of Allied troops. He completed his mission, but with heavy casualties and the wounding of a CO. He went out again into machine gun swept no man's land in order to bring back his wounded CO. In broad daylight, in full view of the enemy and extreme heavy fire, he brought back his commanding officer. This conspicuous gallantry earned Curie a Victoria Cross. He was promoted to full lieutenant from second lieutenant. He was transferred from his regiment to the Royal Flying Corps as a pilot and promoted to captain. So what happened to George Gabriel Curie? Well, he survived the war. He came back to Liverpool and he wanted to go back into his own cotton business in Old Hall Street, but unfortunately that had collapsed. So he had no job. So what did he do to provide for his family? He opened a chippy called the Chip Pan around the corner from St. Francis Xavier's School, his old school, Brunswick Road. And there he was, happy as Larry, serving his customers with his fish and chips. Then the Second World War broke out and he enlisted yet again. And what did he do? He actually landed on the 6th of June 1944, D-Day. What a survivor this man was. Survived the First World War, the Second World War, and finally he did get his call. And in 1956 he died, and he's buried at St. Peter's and Paul, Crosby.
How about that?
Absolutely fantastic.
George Gabriel Curie. And you know what? You know what the family business? He was in the cotton business in Old Hall Street.
Yeah.
And in Albion House, actually. Anyway, not Albion House, I'm sorry. Anyway, the Americans cornered the market. The Americans done them out of lots of other. That's when they cornered the market, the Americans.
Yeah.
You know, they waited and waited and waited. Even the Lusitania went down.
Yeah.
I think I've got a picture of the Lusitania. I think I have. Let's see. Let's see if this is it. No, I've got a picture of it somewhere.
I've got a few of the Lusitania, but
yeah, there it is. That's the Lusitania, and it was sunk by, as you know, by the Germans.
Yeah.
German subs. But Churchill knew exactly where, through intel, where these submarines were off the coast of Ireland, southern coast of Ireland.
Yeah.
And he allowed that to go in because he thought, oh yeah, that'll go down. American lives will be lost. Yeah. And they'll come into the war, but they didn't. They waited and waited and waited until 1917, the ending of 1917. And that's when they came in. You know, they cornered the market by then.
Yeah.
The Americans. They used it. They used the European war as a
it's insane.
Going for the markets.
Because again, what you were saying before, really, if you learn the facts, if we talk about the facts of what went on there, and you can see the parallels with the Second World War and now, and that there's a not very pleasant sign of profiteering
No,
warfare, which is
terrible profiteering. Siegfried Sassoon wrote about it in his poem,
yeah,
in one of his poems. And shocking, the profiteers. And it's profiteering. This is why there's escalations of wars today, because people make a hell of a lot of money. These Congress people, even here in this country, we've got a deep state. They're making a lot of money off these arms people who make these terrible weapons of mass destruction. They're making a lot of money in Congress. They're being paid, each individual congressman, they're being paid lots and lots of money to speak out for the continuation of war. Don't stop the war. Don't stop this. Keep it going. And Russia is the fall guy for the dog. I'm just going to show you something. This is what war's all about. Just bear with me with this. I hope you can see it. I won't be able to read it out. So, can you see that?
yeah,
Can you see that fella on his horse? Now that's a general.
yeah,
And those lads there, this is on the eve of the Battle of the Somme. And he's talking to these lads. He's giving them a pep talk. And I can't read it out because it's very dark in here. It's very, very dark, so I can't see it. If I put the lights on, you wouldn't be able to see me. So here's what he said, basically what he said. He said, up to now, this brigade hasn't made a name for itself. But tomorrow you shall make a name for yourself. If you're slightly wounded, make your way back to base. Do not take up valuable ambulance service space. If you're severely wounded, crawl away to a shell hole and die. That's what he said to these lads. And that was on the eve of the Somme. There's a speech there. That's a speech.
probably the most evil battle in British history.
It was shocking.
Yeah.
And the Germans, they had, how can I say this? The Germans had, just bear with me a minute. They had the high ground.
Yeah.
We were here. They were up there. So they could look down at our trenches and give you some idea of the trenches. Hang on. Sorry about this. Hang on. Just bear with me. Let's see. I have got the trenches here. I have got them somewhere. Look, there are trenches.
Oh.
And fellas, they had this foot rot because of being in the trenches in the water.
Yeah.
There was sewage. There was millions upon millions of cockroaches. There was rats as big as cats. This is what these had to do. Had to endure. Look. And it's just like that poem that Wilfred Owen wrote. Gas, quick, boys, an ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone was yelling and floundering like a man in fire or lime. As under the thick green sea, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. And that's these lads with these masks on to save them from being gassed. It's shocking. It's shocking.
My God.
It's absolutely shocking. It really is. And you know, look at them. These lads are waiting to go over the top. They're waiting to go over the top. Do you know that? How many? Say, like out of 100 that went over the top, right, over the top. Before they got out of the trenches, with the Germans being here and the British there, as they were coming, they only had to put their heads up, and bang, they got shot. They were dead. They just slid down. They just slid down the trench. They were dead because they had snipers and everything. One of the greatest lads who got, well, they're all great lads, I'm not just saying, but he was one of them who won a magnificent Victoria Cross. Was, I don't know where the Victoria Cross is. I don't know where it's gone. But they've got a Victoria Cross here somewhere. And it's sad to think that these lads can't find it. Absolutely useless, mate. Instead of, yeah, there it is. One of the great lads who won this. He tried to do. He was a veteran. He was a veteran of the Boer War, and he was a Liverpool lad. And when the war broke out in 1914, he went up to join up, and he said, no, you're too old. He said, no, he said, you're too old. So he said, well, I want to go over. I want to help the lads. What can I do? So he said, how about becoming a stretcher bearer? And he went, yeah, as long as I'm helping. Now this lad, he went out into no man's land, bringing the wounded back. And he got an MM, which is the equivalent of an MC, the second highest, just one below a Victoria Cross. So, and the equivalent of an MC, which officers got, military cross. So he got a military medal. And the general said to him, most probably you'll end up with a Victoria Cross. The following year, in 1917, he was going around and he was trying to bring these lads back, hopefully they were wounded and not dead, but nevertheless he was bringing them back whether they were wounded or dead. So he's bringing them back. And what he's seen this rapid gunfire, a machine gun. And he's seen these lads who were pinned down. They were pinned down. And they were being picked up by this machine gun. And as he was looking over, he was kneeling down by this young lad, a young lad. He was just out, he's dead, with his rifle in his hand. And he wiped, his hair was over his forehead. And he brushed it aside, he brushed it aside. And he patted him on the cheek. And he said, I hope your death won't be in vain. And he took his rifle off him, charged up to this machine gun post, dived in there, and took the Germans out on the machine gun post. And he picked up their machine gun, big heavy thing, one of those. one of those ones. And he picked it up and he went along the parapet firing at the journalists. He's firing at them. And he shouted to the lads, "Go on, lads, you're all right now. Get back, go on, you're all right. Get back to your lines. You're safe now." And just threw the machine guns out, walked back to that where he got it from, that machine gun post, picked up the lad's rifle and went back to where the lads was on the stretcher, put him on the stretcher, the lad who was dead, and put his rifle, he just folded his arms and put his rifle there and brought him back to the trenches. He was awarded that. He was awarded the Victoria Cross. And the Victoria Cross that he received, his name was William Ratcliffe. And he lived with his sister, who was married. He was lived, there he is, William Ratcliffe. William Ratcliffe. This is MN that he was awarded, his military medal, which is next to that, the Victoria Cross. So anyway, he never married. He was a docker. And he lived with his sister and her husband in St. Oswald Gardens. And every day he used to walk about, just walking about. Kids were playing football and he used to shout, "Hello, Mr. Lerner." And he used to say, "Good morning, lads. Enjoy your football," every single day. This man, he was a very modest man. The unfortunate thing is, he died. And no one knew that he died. And it was the kids who said, "Oh, where's Mr. Ratcliffe? We don't see him anymore." And, people got, oh, anyway, they got a policeman, he went in, and he was dead. He just died. Natural causes. Great hero. Died on his own. Because his sister and her husband had died, before him.
Yeah.
And he was living there on his own. St. Oswald Gardens. And on the site of, it's a big Asda on the site of St. Oswald Gardens. I think it's Asda. And I said there should be a plaque on there to saying about William Ratcliffe, a plaque, a blue plaque. On this site, St. Oswald Gardens lived Liverpool Victoria Cross holder William Ratcliffe, MMVC. That's what I said. That's all you've got to say. Never got up, never went. And this is like heroes.
Absolutely.
It's just it's so bloody sad that these lads, they're not forgotten by me. They're not forgotten by these lads on here.
No.
They're not forgotten at all. And that's why, people say to me, they have said it to me today. I'm not, when I say today, I mean now. Why do you look at Ukraine as and I've got to say it, I look at propaganda, and I've studied, as you know, Anthony. You know that how much I've studied. I've done 11 years of bloody study. 11 years of it at university, alone, besides school and college and whatever. For what I did, what I achieved. And I've always dragged away, tore away at it, propaganda. I've always tore away at it, misinformation, disinformation. I've tore away at it until I've come to the truth, until I've come to that. And then I balance it out. I just balance everything out. And I say, you know, when they say, well, do you support Russia? I say, no, I don't support Russia. But is the problem about Russia and you lot, and you lot. And this is it. So just give them some idea of why the Russians went in. And it was to save the people of Russian-speaking people of Donbass who were being shelled left, right, and centre from 2014 after what you call a coup d'etat, the Maidan coup d'etat in Kiev, where they overthrew a legitimate government. And by the Americans, a covert operation by the CIA led by a woman, horrible woman, a terrible Russophobe, hates Russians, and her name is Victoria Nuland. So they overthrew a good government because that government just wanted to trade with the EU and Russia. You've only got to look at how they viewed Russia. There's terrible Russophobe everywhere in the West. A Russian has nothing, he's never done anything to me, or she has done nothing to me, never done anything to you. And yet, what did an Iraqi do to us? What did an Iranian do to us? What did an Afghan do? What did anyone do to us? And yet these are picking wars on them. And it's shocking. It's shocking. It's a proxy war going on today in Ukraine. They're fighting everyone. They're fighting 59 countries. Would you believe that?
Yeah.
And NATO.
Yeah.
They're destroying NATO every day. And it's shocking.
Do you know what? I get a great faith out of a piece of information you gave me a couple of years ago, appertaining to Harold Wilson and the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
The Americans said, come on,
yeah.
You boys, you're coming in. And he said,
Lyndon Baines Johnson, he said to Harold Wilson, he said, listen, he said, I want your boys to come in. And he turned around, Wilson, now get onto this. Wilson was a healthy man. He was an economic genius as well, by the way. Not lots of people know that, but he was an economic genius, Harold Wilson. And he said, my boys are not going to Vietnam with you or anybody else. What for? What's the point of Vietnam? That's what he said.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, Harold Wilson was gone, if you remember.
Yeah.
He was gone. And this is what happens to leaders. This is what happens to leaders. This is why you have colour revolutions. This is what's happening now in Romania. A fellow by the name of Caleb Georgescu, who was well in the lead in an election. Von der Leyen, an unelected person who runs Brussels, with other unelected people, the likes of Mark Rutte, who's the head now of NATO, banned the elections in Romania. Simply because this Georgescu he said, I'm more interested in my country and my people. I'm not sending money to Ukraine. I'd rather put it here in this country, of my country, Romania. And she stopped the elections. What right does she have to stop the elections? And that's the annoying thing about this particular Brussels. Do you know what, Anthony? I was a Remainer. I wanted to remain European. You know, so when we had the Brexit, you know, I was a Remainer, and I voted to remain. And unfortunately, we were kicked out. Well, we're not kicked out. We left. Boy, am I glad. Boy, am I glad. because of that woman. All this, and this von der Leyen, horrible person, she just wants to escalate more debt. That's what I call it, more debt. She wants to escalate. It really gets to me. It really gets to me. It really does. I'll see what the lads have been saying. So don't never forget him. That great man there, William Radcliffe.
No.
And the Redbird says, Christian lives don't matter, Frank. It's gone. The unfortunate thing is it's gone. It's gone. Jared Murphy's with us. He says, correct, Frank. UK follows USA bigger profit maker weapons funding Kiev whilst there are 300,000 homeless in the UK. There you go. There's 5.2 million children below the poverty line. How many of them go to school without a breakfast? How many of them come home from school without anything to eat, and even a meal? You might go to bed with a round of toast and a drop of milk or a cup of tea or something. And he carries on by saying, Jared, backing Israeli genocide covered up by the West. Oh, it's shocking. It's shocking, Jared. It really is. It's becoming. And the Anfield, even in Frankie and Anthony, it's good to have this show back. And there's they are, Anthony. There's loads of Scottish for you. A couple of beers for me.
Thank you, Anfield. Good to be back.
And Jared says, you know what's this? See, I don't know what these abbreviations stand for, you know. Introduced a story and promoting a book about Liverpool history. I commented, the only Liverpool historian we're promoting is Frank Carlyle. See you next time on the Footy Channel, Frank, and chat. Aren't that lovely?
Yeah.
I didn't even know. What's that?
I don't know who the person is referencing, but you're the one, Frank. There's so many copies, but there's only one original.
Do you know what? I don't know what that TAW introduced in a story and promoting a book about Liverpool history. It's mad, isn't it? I don't know. TAW. I don't know what TAW is, unfortunately. I haven't a clue. And thanks for that anyway, Sharon. I know he's gone. Thanks for that. It's only one story. Thank you. Oh, the Anfield rap. Oh, I don't watch them, mate. Oh, I don't watch them. Don't watch them, Jared. Thank you anyway for that. That's lovely. That. Thank you. And the Redbird says these leaders are the devil's puppets. It's good philosophy, that. And Christopher says, Jared, I commented on the same video and mentioned Frank's channel. Oh. They won't look at me, them fellas. They're awful. They're in the pockets of the owners. They are in the pockets of the owners, them fellas, phonies. And the Redbirds, TAW, the Anfield Rapper, Liverpool Football YouTube channel, yeah. Thank you, Redbird. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Jared. And Christopher, the Anfield Rap. I thought it was something historical. We're talking about history. I thought it would be that.
But, it's like we've always said, we learn something new every show you do.
But when you see these people, I think one of There's a fella named John Davis, right? John Davis. And he was from Birkenhead. He's the only Birkenhead Victoria Cross.
Okay.
Shall I tell you how we got it? Brilliant, this. There's a twist at the end of it as well. Now, honestly, you know, when I was talking about William Radcliffe and he seen these lads being pinned down,
Yeah.
well, this lad more or less did the same. But they were on one side of a parapet of a canal, and they had to cross it to get to the other side. And there was a machine gun post. And they were in the water going across, and they were being picked up. So he said, get down, you know, get down. And they said, we're going to fucking die. You know, this is what they were saying. You know, I had to say that because that's what they were saying. Anyway, he went, that's a worry, lads. He said, just stay out of sight. And he had his rifle and he went through, waded water up to here, and he waded through. Jumped on the parapet, dived in the machine gun post and took them out, taking them out. Then all of a sudden, bang, and all this smoke and everything else went up, and there was no sign of George Davis.
Wow.
No sign of him, George Davis. Anyway, John Davis, I'm sorry, there was no sign of him. So when they got back, you know, they said about this, what this lad did, this John Davis, what he did, it was fantastic. And he saved our lives, and unfortunately, he was blown up. So a telegram came to his parents, and they were getting on, you know. They weren't like young. I think they were just out of middle age, they were, you know, going into the elderly. And the telegram said, with deep sorrow and whatever they say, and he has been awarded the Victoria Cross. So at the end of the war, you know, when it was all over, it was armistice and peace, there was a knock on the door of this couple's home, whose son had been awarded the Victoria Cross. And when they opened the door, it was John Davis. Because he'd been taken prisoner.
Wow.
And there was no communication, no nothing. Isn't that a wonderful story? He's the only man to receive a Victoria Cross posthumously, yet he lived to receive it.
Fantastic story.
And that was John Davis of Birkenhead.
Legend.
It's just so sad that I tell stories about these people, how they won them everything. And one of the greatest stories was of a chap who was born in a workhouse. Born in a workhouse. And if you could imagine, I love that. There he is. There he is. Isn't that fantastic? He's great, isn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't he great? Jason, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just put that picture up of. I love Curie. I love the story about Curie. But there was a lad who was born in a workhouse. And this workhouse, if you can think about it, his mother was a 17-year-old. And she went to this workhouse to help. But they wouldn't allow pregnant girls in, or anyone. But they didn't know she was pregnant, and she couldn't talk because she was feverish. And she collapsed. And when they, trying to revive, they didn't know what happened. She just dropped. And they looked, and she said, she's pregnant. One of the girls said, she's pregnant. And the baby came out. So they rushed the baby over to the chapel in the compound of the workhouse. They said, we better christen, baptise this baby. We have to baptise him before he dies. So that baby survived. The mother died. They didn't know who she was. He survived. And when he was a little, adolescent, I'll say adolescent, he escaped certain death in the workhouse. He escaped it. I can't stay here. There's a world out there, he must be. And he escaped. And he got to, wherever he got to, he got to Lincoln. And how he got there, no one knows. But anyway, nevertheless, he gets there. And he joins, just to feed himself. He joins the Lincolnshire Regiment. He became a drummer boy. Then he became a rifleman. And when he was a rifleman, the Lincolnshire lads went over to the Raj, which means, rule in India. And there was an uprising by the Indians, and the sergeant said to these lads, I need volunteers. I need volunteers to go and rescue the captain of the regiment, the captain's wife, 3 children, and the servants if possible. I need you. And there was 2,000 Punjabis. So he went, volunteered to go, and they got them to safety, including the servants, by the way. They got them to safety. The captain and his wife and children and the servants got them to safety. And he was awarded the Victoria Cross. He was awarded that. Again, a very, very brave man. A very brave man. And he suffered. It was diagnosed, and it was only diagnosed a few years ago, not then. Not in 1857, it wasn't. And he was diagnosed by modern day doctors as suffering from narcolepsis. And that means, you slur your speech, and you stagger, and you could fall asleep just like that. Because he was always sleeping. And his mates used to say, God, Brian, you're always asleep. But this was narcolepsy. So he was on parade this day. And he was staggering all over the place, and he was court-martialed. Because he had to receive his Victoria Cross of Victoria herself. Anyway, he was court-martialed for being drunk on parade, but he wasn't drunk, Anthony. He was just, suffering and falling asleep.
Yeah.
So they court-martialed him. Now, once you're court-martialed, you're talking here, the 1800s. You were just put up and shot or hanged. That was it. No questions, thank God. No matter what that court-martial was. And they said, we can't execute him. We cannot execute him. So why? He's receiving a Victoria Cross in a few days' time. So do you know what his punishment was? 50 lashes. As a punishment, they gave him 50 lashes for nothing because he was suffering what they didn't know. And this fella who's receiving the Victoria Cross didn't know. Anyway, he received his Victoria Cross. He was standing there for hours to attention. After receiving it, that was being pinned on him like this. He was marched through the portals. His sword was taken off him, broken. He was stripped of his uniform, and he was told to go. He had to leave the regiment in disgrace. After he said they kept his Victoria Cross. He always wanted to find out who his mother was. And he always said, when I leave the army, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to Liverpool, or I'm going back to Liverpool to find out and try and find out who my mother was. Because they baptized him.
Yeah.
The vicar. They said, well, we'll call him John after John the Baptist. After all, we're baptizing him. And we'll give him the surname, not Church, but Kirk. So he became John Kirk. He became John Kirk.
Yeah.
He became Liverpool's first recipient of the Victoria Cross. And there he is.
Wow.
John Kirk.
Wow.
Do you know how he died? When he made his way back to Liverpool to find out who his mother was, he got back to Liverpool somehow. He had no money, he had nothing. He went back to the workhouse where he was born. And obviously, by the time he got there, he was very, very ill. And they brought him into the workhouse. And he died. He was born in the workhouse, won a Victoria Cross, suffered from a debilitating disease called narcolepsy. He was given 50 lashes before receiving his Victoria Cross. And made his way back to dishonourably discharged from the regiment. Made his way back to Liverpool. Got back to the workhouse he was born in. And that workhouse was named Brownlow Hill. Charles Dickens, he loved coming to Liverpool, loved it. And he always went to prisons, bridewells and workhouses to get material for his books. And he actually seen that log about his birth, because he was up here to have a look at these kids working on the docks. Thieves. They were known as the 40 Thieves. And he came up to have a look. And as I said, he went to Brownlow Hill Workhouse and he seen that log. That gave him the seed for the birth of one of his characters in a novel.
Yeah. One of his greatest.
One of his greatest. And the 40 Thieves became the catalyst of the gang in that particular book. Also, the benefactor, when you think about being a benefactor of this young boy in the novel, I knew the benefactor was of this man who was born there and cared for until he got out of it, and then went back and was cared for again until he died. So the benefactor was a Mr. Brownlow in this book, and that book was Oliver Twist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there you go. Absolutely brilliant, so this is what you have.
Yeah.
This is what you have, Anthony.
Just a heart-rending story, and made more poignant because of Dickens' work on behalf of the story.
Yeah. How we got to it. People don't realise. Now, I'm a specialist on Dickens. And people don't realise that every character in his books are real-life characters. Mr. Micawber, incidentally, is a portrait of his own dad, Dickens' own dad, as a spendthrift. So everybody is a real-life character, every main character. Even Nancy was a real-life character. She was a prostitute, but she used to help kids. She used to give them money to eat, or say like a person with a baby and was hungry, and she used to go and get something to eat. That's how she was. Beautiful people. And the Redbird says, I don't watch other channels, but I know about them. Yours is my first, second, and main channel, Frank. Isn't that lovely?
That is what a testimony.
Thank you so much, Redbird. Really appreciate it. Honest to God, I really do. Wow. And Lynn Ellis, evening, Anthony.
Evening, Lynn. Hope you're good.
And Snapey, Redbird, you've got tunnel vision. Channel tunnel vision. Evening all.
Channel tunnel.
Channel tunnel. Isn't it lovely though?
Yeah.
And Christopher says, prostitutes at the time were the first name. They were.
Yeah.
They were actually. They were. And I'll tell you another thing as well, where you're saying about nurses. They were also wet nurses, what you call wet nurses. If, like the baby died, if the mother died and the baby was surviving, they gave the milk. Prostitutes. Very good point. That's how clever our bunch are, on this particular point. And they love the history.
How passionate you are as well.
It's I know that I've been going on about things, but I think getting a Victoria Cross. I think I put the way the hardship of talking about a war, that.
Yeah.
And it's just terrible the way wars are. But when you talk about certain people winning Victoria Crosses and such, 16 Victoria Crosses.
It brings it closer to
Liverpool,
it. Yeah.
Liverpool.
You're talking about the person, you're talking about where they live and the area where they came from and the area where they went back to. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
You know,
And when
some
you
celebrity
Anthony,
thing.
go on, I'm sorry.
No, it's just that I think the humanity that comes across with these stories as well is very important.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
These are
yeah.
real people, not a
When
fiction.
we talk about these people, and we look at the likes of Noel Shavas, and he was the first double VC, the very first double VC,
Yeah,
and he was in the Liverpool Scottish.
yeah,
He was in the Liverpool Scottish. Now this lad, when he won the Victoria Cross, he was unbelievable. He was incredible. And I wrote a play called Echoes of the First World War. World War One, WW1, and I wrote about these poets and also Victoria Cross holders, and he was one of them. How he received it. That was the play, and it was performed at St George's Hall. And I wrote a play called, as people know now, I've mentioned this before, called A Reflection of Dickens. And that's how about Oliver Twist, about John Kirk, receiving his Victoria Cross, where he was born, where he died, how he received, why he got his Victoria Cross. And unfortunately, through COVID, it was all ready to go on the 28th of June, and in the concert room, and COVID hit us, and that Boris bloody Johnson, which should never have happened. This is how I've become institutionalised. This is why I can't move out, because of him. As I said, I was at the doctor's yesterday, and this morning I get a phone call, and she said, of a doctor, and I've got to go again, in a couple of months over something different. And she said, I told her, about, well, I said yesterday, the doctors, I've become institutionalised in my own home. I said, I can't move. I said, I can't walk because of COVID and the lockdown. And she said to me something significant. She said, you're not the only one. There's lots of people just like what you've said. Don't go out, can't go out. Now, I was talking to a fellow historian today, and he told me about his partner. I was telling him what the doctor was saying to me and why I don't move out. And he said, Pauline's like that now. She can't go out because of bloody lockdown. And, what's wrong with her? It's just shocking. It's just shocking what happens to us. But this man here, to relieve the pressures and everything else of the World War, of World War One, and these battles and the war of attrition, he used to have a laugh with his fellow officer. And they used to have a lot, and they used to play little jokey tricks on each other. And that fellow officer in the Liverpool Scottish, he was a captain also, and he became a silver screen legend. And his name is Basil Rathbone.
Yeah.
And he was a war hero. He got an MC, which is just below the Victoria Cross, but they reckon he should have received a Victoria Cross for his bravery, what he did on one occasion by bringing 3 men back, carried them out of no man's land, wounded. A captain, Basil Rathbone, the greatest Sherlock Holmes ever.
I absolutely agree, Frank. Totally agree. And is it right that his family has still got roots in the city?
The Rathbone, yeah. The Rathbone bread. Try saying that. The Rathbone bread, yeah. The Rathbone bread people. William Rathbone and, William Rathbone alongside William Roscoe and John Curry, Dr. John Curry and other lads. They were all abolitionists of the slave trade.
Yeah.
So he comes from a genuine family. I've spoke about one of the greatest, not a Victoria Cross girl, but she was one of the greatest of all people to come to Liverpool. And it was William Ratcliffe who sent for her because we were suffering from terrible diseases, cholera, typhoid, dysentery, scarlet fever, you name it, everything was going on in Liverpool. And he sent for this girl named Agnes Jones. And she came up, Agnes Jones. And she served 4 years looking after children who and families going in. She became the very first paid nurse in the entire world, Agnes Jones, because William Ratcliffe paid for it. She came up from Cambridge and she was nursing. And their nursing profession, their system goes on today. Their system goes on today.
Yeah.
Agnes Jones.
Yeah.
And she actually died saving these people. She was a beautiful looking girl as well, And she, her image is in the Noble Women's window in the Anglican Cathedral.
Yeah. Well,
and her image is there, along with Kitty Wilkinson, by the way.
Our lovely friend, God bless him, Michael.
Michael, yeah.
Well, Michael told me a lovely story about an expression that we use quite a lot, really, which came from Agnes Jones's funeral.
Wow.
Forgive me, I can't remember the name of the priest who served at the funeral, but the statement was made, "Angels walk amongst us," and it was about Agnes's work amongst the poor. And we've got many angels, male and female, that
there she is.
They think of others. There she is. Yeah, beautiful.
Agnes Jones, who went out of her way to look after children, men, women who were dying. And she caught the disease herself, and she died. And do you know where she's buried? Do you know where she got buried?
No.
Ireland.
Oh.
Her body was sent over to Ireland to be buried. And I just don't know. I wish Michael was here with us, unfortunately. And I would have asked him that. And I never ever asked him, why was she buried in Ireland? because like there's no Irish ancestry. I don't know whether there was or not. You know, if you said that she was buried in Wales, for example, you say, oh yeah, with the name Jones.
No.
But she was buried in Ireland. So
I'll
she must have had some affiliation with Ireland, of course.
Michael did a wonderful book about the women of the city,
Oh, right, okay.
and although she wasn't as we would call Scouse, but equal honor we bestow on people is that they become honorary Scouts.
Honorary, yeah.
They mean so much to so many people. I'll do a bit of research and we'll talk about it
Yeah,
before
that'll be good, that.
we do our next show.
That'll be smashing. That really will be good. Because I just want to know why she went to be buried in Ireland. Why she was brought over to be buried in Ireland.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's see what these have said before we leave. So we're not playing next Wednesday. Is that all right with you? I do know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So we'll be on again next Wednesday. Is that all right?
If that's good for you, Frank, it's great for me. Thank you.
Okay. And we'll go for it from 8 o'clock, eh?
If 7 suits you, I'm happy with whatever time suits
Oh,
you.
yeah. Will that be all right with you?
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Thank you. Thank you. And the Redbird says he's talking to Snapey. I have seen other channels, but no longer watch them apart from snippets here and there. So, yes, I do have channel tunnel vision for my guy, Frank.
Yeah.
That's great. And he carries on by saying, I went out all the time during lockdown, just going for long walks. Also, I never wore a mask. I never trusted the COVID narrative. It was a pandemic. Very good play on words there. Pandemic, not a pandemic, in my opinion. But it's not just you, because it's been debunked. Everything has been debunked now, Redbird. You know, we should never have been in a lockdown. We should never have worn masks, because the masks, you're breathing in different things. That's what came out of it. And all the corruption with this horrible Tory government. Millions gone missing. Millions. 500, is it 500 million or something stupid? And the Redbird says, why won't they teach real history in academia? What they teach depends on what narrative they want pupils to believe, and not embedded in real truth.
Yeah.
The point is, I didn't know anything about Liverpool. I really didn't. I knew nothing. All as I knew was I knew nothing. I knew about the Mersey Tunnel. That's about it. This is while I was at school. So when you start looking in as you get older, and history has always been a favourite of mine. And every time I read something, there was not hardly anything about Liverpool. There was something about the May Blitz, but that's about it. That's the only thing I remember, being a teenager. And by the time I went to university, and then you start looking into things, and then all of a sudden, I was reading something about the Civil War, which me and Andy will be talking about soon, one of the shows. And, wow, why isn't this mentioned in, but you never see it mentioned in any history books. And, when I opened a book once, and I'm only going back a few years ago, and it was that thick, and it was about the May Blitz, and all around the country, and there was 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of Liverpool, about Liverpool, pictures, and there was only, out of those 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. There was 6 pictures of Liverpool, the Blitz here. And Liverpool was the most bombed city outside London. The most bombed town in the whole of the country was brutal. And nothing. So I always remember an old mate of mine, and he phoned me up and he said, "Hey Frank," he said, "I've just opened up an adult learning centre." I'm going back years ago. He said, "Would you come down and, just mingle about?" He said, "There's a little buffet going." It was lunchtime. He said, "Are you working?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm off today." So he said, "Come down." I'll never forget, it was a Monday. So I went down, and Lord Leverhulme was there, So anyways, walking around, people were in there, from the community. And it was a Holy Cross community, by the way. So I was walking around there, talking to a few people. And when they all left, I went into the office with Georgie Allen, and we sat down. And he said, "I've got a couple of classes going tonight, and I've made up, people have enrolled." He said, "A few of them." He said, "So made up with that." The phone rings. Goes, "Hello." And I seen George's face, he went, he said, why, what's wrong?" And it was the teacher who was teaching local history that night. And there was a woman. And she said, honestly, now as I said, it was in Holy Cross, bottom of Scotty Road there. And she said, "I'm afraid my hubcaps or, my tyres would be slashed on my car." That's what she said. So anyway, he said to me, he said, "Any chance for you doing it?" He said, "Are you work?" I said, "No." I said, "I don't work overnight." And he said, because I was at uni, he was teaching there. And he said, "Do us a favour." He said, "Come." I said, "I know nothing about Liverpool history." He said, "You must know something." I said, "I don't, honestly." I said, "The only thing I know are Victoria Cross holders from the First World War, that, from Liverpool." I said, "That's all I know." He went, "Do it, please do it." So I went, "Okay." So I went in that night and they loved it. So I just left it at that. I thought he'd get someone else in. And then he phoned me that was on the Monday, he phoned me on the Wednesday. He said, "Listen, Frank, I can't get anyone in." He said, "Please, can you take over?" I said, "I can't do it, George." He said, "Go on, please, don't let me down." So I said, "Okay," because they were lovely people who went in to teach.
Yeah.
And so I had to run the library and start looking things up. But when I was looking things up, I was like, that doesn't fit in now. And that doesn't fit in with that. So I went in deeper.
Yeah.
And I started to look at primary sources. So that's how I became, a local historian. Started looking, because there are so many myths in Liverpool, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, loads. And I just said, but I always remember this girl saying, not to me personally, I commented on something, and she went, "Who do you think you've got? How do you know all these things? You've got no qualifications." She didn't know what it was, obviously. And I went, "So okay then, but I do know, if you know what I mean." That's what I said to her. And the red bird's going. Catch you next time, gentlemen. Cheers, mate. Thank you, red bird.
Good night, Red.
I'm going to finish, haven't I, if you don't mind?
I don't mind at all.
So I want to try and catch something on the TV, you see. And I just want to thank everybody on here tonight who's joined Anthony and myself. And hopefully, we'll catch you next Wednesday, and everything will be fine. And we'll be talking more history, and God knows what we'll be talking. But one of the things, couple of subjects that we will be talking about, I'm not saying next week or anything, will be the Civil War, because what I really want to talk about also is where Anthony is international history. I'll be talking about the French Revolution, for example.
Wonderful.
I'll be talking about Roman Britain, for example.
Yeah.
I'll be talking about Napoleon. I'll be talking different types of things. And that you said, did you ever do anything about the Anglo-Dutch Wars, naval wars? I'll do that one, mate, because it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I'll even be talking more in depth. I did mention it before, and that's the Pilgrim Fathers, when they went over and Thanksgiving and all that. You know what really happened when they first went over there, trying to establish themselves. Where did they look at about before going over to America? To try out, to experiment, to see how the natives would be. So we'll be talking about that as well.
Would love
We'll
that.
be talking lots of things.
Would love.
And even our people, Anthony, which will be down our street actually, will be how people lived during the 1800s, the 19th century, how they lived and how they coped and how they survived with certain things, So we touched on it before about scarlet fever, cholera, typhoid, you name it, that was it. And certain people from that era as well, some great people, besides Charles Dickens, by the way. We'll be talking about some great people, some great poets as well, who blasted out, what's going on in this world today. We all talk about George Orwell, in the 20th century, when there was lots of George Orwells. There was lots of Emmeline Pankhursts as well.
Yeah.
I love one of my favourite women of all time is Mary Wollstonecraft. Now, Mary Wollstonecraft, you might know her. I'm talking to the people out there. And she was a great woman. She wanted the emancipation of women. And she was the mother of, you all know her, as Mary Shelley.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go.
Fantastic in itself, a connection. Yeah. And as you know, I know one of your other heroes, and mine, although I don't know much about her, was Bessie Braddock's mum.
Oh, Mary Bamber. Mary Bamber. Oh yeah, I'll be talking about her.
It never goes. No matter how much time you put between historic events and people, we always need these people. We need them today, like we needed them then.
Great heroines.
Yeah.
Great heroines. Even the Bronte sisters were great heroines.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't realise, what they wrote about. Wuthering Heights, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jane Eyre, unbelievable. And this is all like, what was before their eyes. This is what they wrote about.
Yeah.
Just love the ladies of any time. And I'll tell you who I'll be talking about when I'll be talking about Roman Britain. Queen Cartamandua, who never ever gets mentioned. The only queen who ever gets mentioned at the time is Queen Boudica, or Boadicea, as people call her. It's really Boudica. So, Anthony, thank you.
Frank, thank you, big time. I never come on the show, your show, and not learn something. And believe me, the older I get, the more of a gift that is to learn, to be
Oh,
taught something.
that's right.
You know,
Thank you,
I'm
Anthony. I
cynical,
just want to thank all the people for joining you and I, tonight. And hope to see you all again for the history show next week. But if you
Yeah.
can join me, I'll be talking about on Friday. I'm not doing that tomorrow, giving myself a night off. I'll be talking about on Friday, that is the current affairs programme, which will be hard hitting again, which has got nothing to do with local history or anything like that, or historical facts, but it will be about what's going on in the world today. And thank you everyone for joining Anthony and myself. Thank you again, Anthony. And hopefully I'll see you all on Friday. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Thank you all. Thank you, guys.